science and biology. Okay, Geschow, I hope I'm pronouncing the name right, is saying create more labs to practice science and trials, and put a question mark. So it's a question. How can this indigenous knowledge contribute or resolve problems, health, and science? There is there is a there is a plant called a water. I don't know, it's a water plant. I think it's a water plant. I'm not sure. In in my where I come from, in the villages, that plant is referred to. I forgot the name of that plant, but if you have it even in your pocket, lightning cannot strike you. You know, like lightning cannot strike you. Or if you wear a rubber, you have a rubber in you or in your house, lightning cannot strike you. So there is this knowledge or folklore, ulwazi labantu, knowledge of the people, not really on science or in science book, but this knowledge that if you have a rubber, lightning cannot strike you. That is why lightning does not strike cars. I'm not sure how accurate is that, but this is the folklore knowledge of the people around us. They say lightning does not strike cars because cars have that rubber. That is why in some houses you'll find that there's always a tire above the house just to strike lightning, just to stop lightning when it comes. Okay. Balisa is saying that involving traditional healers as they have more knowledge on natural herbs. And then Miss Imran is saying that natural medicine made from herbs and plants. So to make natural medicines made from herbs and plants, you'll be surprised the modern medicines. What are they made of? They're not made of something new, something that we don't know. They're made from things that we know, things around us. Okay, so that's a good point there. Natural medicine made from herbs and plants. Do trials on natural herbs. Okay, yes, sure. It's saying that do trials on natural herbs. Okay, which is accurate, which is good, and which is what Madagascar is saying now. Take I don't know I don't know the name of this English word of umfonyani, where they say umfonyani can cure coronavirus. Do trials on that. Explore that. Okay. How can indigenous knowledge system contribute to biology, law, architecture? I'll give one example of law. How can indigenous knowledge system contribute to law? In South Africa, the South African Constitution acknowledges traditional law. It acknowledges traditional laws, and now there's a bill in Parliament, which I wrote an article about that bill in Parliament, where it advocates for traditional courts, because before colonization arrived, the law that we are using now, which is called the civil law, is a foreign law. It's a Dutch law. Okay. Remember, I'm not an expert in law, but this is just my general knowledge of this. So I stand to be corrected. So this is a Western law. It's a Dutch law. It's come from Europe. We are using European law. So now the traditional community of South Africa, together with Contralesa, which is Congress of Traditional Leaders in South Africa, are advocating for traditional courts parallel to the civil courts. So you'll get the civil courts where you go to the magistrate courts, and then you also get traditional courts where you go to Usbonda. You know, in the Eastern Cape, courts are very far and police stations are very far, but issues are resolved within the communities. There is Usbonda Winging. I don't know what Usbonda in English is, where if you have time to report, you go to Usbonda, and then that is a traditional law, African traditional law, how you resolve issues there. And then if things are not resolved to Usbonda, you go upper, which is Usbonda will be similar to a magistrate court. And then after things are not resolved to Usbonda, you go to Enkosini, and then you dispute, so you do all those things that you usually do in court and try to find resolution to the problem. The difference is civil law focuses on punishing, on coercion or coercion. So if you are found guilty, you will be serving so many years in prison. So it focuses on coercion, coercion, coercion. However, traditional law does not only focuses on coercion, it also focuses on reconciliation, to reconcile the perpetrator and the victim, to reconcile the issues, okay, depending on what kind of issues are these. Instead of locking them up and putting them to jail, there will be a punishment in which it will try to reconcile the victim and the perpetrator. So it's different. It's not the same. It's not the same. So this is how, for me, indigenous knowledge can contribute to law. Introduce those traditional courts. If one wants to be tried in the, in the traditional court, then let them be tried in traditional court. And if the person is found guilty, then the traditional court will decide what happens to someone who's been found guilty. So if you can introduce and empower those courts, okay. And then how can indigenous knowledge system contribute to architecture and biology? For example, architecture, can see those houses there. How can indigenous knowledge system contribute to architecture or biology or law or science? Okay. Ms. Imran saying that they do have a sort of indigenous law in South Africa called African customary law, which is very true. So there is customary law, just not there even courts called, we are not called courts, they are called inkundla. They're not specifically courts, but currently now they have inkundla. Visan?
Thank you, Tembela. You know, in the there are some things that are not African. Before colonialization, they were not in existence. Uh, Things such as a divorce.
Mm,
A divorce is not African, and the application of indigenous law was that if I as Vuisani has been found to have had done anything wrong, because the causes of divorce are not only limited to cheating or
mm,
infidelity. Once I'm found to be in a wrong, I'll be fine. Perhaps a cow or that other side of the family will
mm,
determine what is their fine towards so that I get to correct uh, my actions,
mm,
and that limited the divorces taking place in that regard. And there's quite lots of things that were during the use of the, because when it gets to this law, the law must always not be contrary to the constitution of the republic. And
mm,
if it is contrary to the constitution, then that will be set aside as unconstitutional. So you find that we have such things as that never existed in Africa, such as street kids. Because now we ought not to discipline our kids if they don't listen
mm,
to a point whereby it will escalate to them being street kids.
mm,
And we would use in indigenous discipline to deal with ill behavior of our kids. And and again, I that is my view. And that is my view that if we were to apply, if because okay, let me not get there. I do not want to politicize this.
mm.
I think let me end there. Thank you.
Okay, I hear you, Visan. I hear you. Ms. Everan is saying that they do have sort of indigenous law in South Africa called customary law. The constitution promotes it and says that the courts must apply it where it applicable. So, which is very true. There is the South African constitution recognize traditional law or customary law. Now the debate is, should this customary law be lower than the civil law? Okay, there is that debate now. There is also the debate of opting in and opting out. For instance, if you went to a community where the traditional court have jurisdiction, do you have to opt out and use civil law, or you must be tied with that customary law or that traditional law where you made let's say you made a trial. So which one must you use? Is that debate now, the opting in and opting out? Others are saying that no, there should be no opting in or opting out. If you are in this community, you do a time, and traditional law have a jurisdiction. Therefore, you should be tried in a traditional court, not a civil court. So there is that uh, debate now. Okay, Adele just made an announcement on the chats. Uh, I will, I will end it there. Just to add on the architecture part, you see, uh, these houses are specific to when it comes to architecture. These there are different designs and yeah and architecture in Africa that I believe that they should be explored and employed and made fashionable. you see, there's even those the others like this roundhouse here also is a modern roundhouse. It's not the same as, so you can just use the indigenous knowledge system and 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 improve architecture and make architecture the African architecture fashionable. If you go to Eastern Cape and use the N2, when you reach Butterworth, you see there are very beautiful houses there. A community that have beautiful houses, big beautiful houses. Others are round houses that they are modern round houses. So architecture is very beautiful. So the examples which you gave on the chairs are very beautiful. They are correct. They are correct and they are true. I also believe that if you can use these examples, use the indigenous knowledge system, we can also contribute. There's a lot that we can contribute on health, science, biology, law, architecture, and other things. Okay, so don't forget to put your student number there because we don't have register, but you can just put your student number on the chat. So this session today comes to an end. I'll hope to meet you next week when we have another session. So thank you and goodbye.